to hop around and fling his fucking hat at you. Thankfully, you can take his weapon and blast his ass with magic as he submits to Ronald's power. Instead of finishing him off, however, Ronald befriends him and they ride off into the sunset. Until the train crashes and they plummet to their doom. Thankfully, Birdie fortuitously flies by and grabs Ronald in the nick of time. The conductor, however, moving on. Now we're finally in the town where it decided to stop snowing. Jeez, the weather, fucking insane. One minute it's snowing, and the other minute the clouds are going insane. And don't get me started on the day and night cycle. Anyways, the town is littered with little cars that drive funny. Sumo wrestlers fucking up the roads and fucking up the construction, making workers plummet to their demise, and these little bastards throwing random shit out their windows. At least the clouds have finally stabilized. After making it to the top of the construction, we see the goal that leads to the next boss. A few balloons float up, and then a crazy-looking robot boomerang with arms and a jetpack pops up. Once again, to defeat him, you must kill the small enemies for health so that the boss can chomp on a jewel so you can blast him with magic. The boomerang explodes, exposing the bitch elf inside, who proceeds to cry. Ronald shuts him up with some more jewelry. The elf walks away, dropping their piece of the map. Now we can get to the next plot point, Magical Sea. This place is your typical water-themed level with fish, urchins, more fish, these helicopter things, and then when you get to the end of the first part, you're greeted with pirate penguins. Penguins on a pirate ship. Why, of all the... They're adorable. They're adorable penguins. I mean, what am I gonna do? They're adorable penguins. Anyways, you sit there admiring the adorable penguins for about 10 minutes, then you realize you're supposed to be playing the game. After that, you run to the end, where you find an island with hooks on coconuts that sometimes just fall on your head. We see a few new enemies, a suave cactus man with a top hat and umbrella, and a robot Hawaiian jungle man? When you get past them, we find the next boss, who reveals that it wasn't an island at all, but his pirate ship in disguise. Then he runs away, leaving Ronald to climb up to the top and survey the area. Reaching the top, he sees another ship at sea, and it sees him, firing a barrage of cannons at the same rate as an AK, sinking the ship and killing Ronald. Don't worry, Ronald can breathe underwater and easily walks right back into the ship. Inside the ship we see doors, knights, doors, chests, doors, barrels, ghosts on fire, and more fucking doors! Behind each door is a room different from the last, varying from the floor coming up to underwater groping hands to a room with lots of hooks. Eventually, you reach a man in armor who is not too wise on how to fight, and then you fall your way to the captain's room. Now it's time to face the third boss, who is basically a giant mouth hell-bent on devouring Ronald. This boss is a little complicated. You have to do a few extra steps in order to do damage to him because he huffs around like a maniac. Enemies pop out of the red and blue holes in the floor whenever he pulls one of the ropes. Afterwards, he'll attempt to eat a jewel, then he hops around like a freak while he chews. Then he throws his hat a few times, and the cycle continues. When you defeat him, Ronald reaps the spoils of victory by enjoying that mouth in his own way. He of course gets the final piece of the map, which reveals that the treasure is in the sun. It looks like our adventure is finally over, because no one can survive in the sun. As it turns out, it's not the sun, but it's the moon. So, having no way of getting there, they consult the professor. Who is the professor? Who's the professor? That's the professor? That guy looks like Professor Genius from Nemo in Dreamland with a hard hat on. Well, it turns out that this guy has a rocket that can fly to the moon, so Ronald and his friends, who haven't contributed anything to the treasure hunt, except for Birdie when she saves Ronald from falling into oblivion on that train, and they hop on and blast off. Then they crash. They die. Again. Well, they don't really die, but they do crash, and they have to find a way back home. So they decide to go ahead and split up and try to find help on the moon. Help on the moon. They try to find help on the moon. They try to find help on the moon. Enter the 4th level, Magical Moon. This is exactly what you would expect on the moon. Lush greenery, rocks that try to eat you, hair dryers, a mushroom cat, and a fantastic view of all of the hundreds of other planets in the background. This is the only level where you can jump with half the gravity. I know that's not correct, but to be fair, this isn't our moon. There are also bubble pits and Ursula's seaweed slaves to get in Ronald's way, but they're not threatening. When you reach the 2nd goal, Ronald runs into a few aliens in a spacecraft that decide to do a little target practice on him. This part is really easy. All you have to do is avoid the laser and stick to the right. After that, they tire of shooting at him, then they just decide to grab him and bring him on board. Why? To molest him, of course. What? You don't believe me? Watch this. When Ronald boards, he is blocked from exiting the hull by a little bit of fisting, so he has no choice but to venture into the unknown craft. The first enemy we meet is a little robot resembling Bleeding Gums Murphy, but instead of playing the saxophone, he just wants to touch us with his balls. After dispersing him, we see that Ronald is surrounded by eager, groping hands that take your jewels if they touch you. Then to progress, you have to grab onto these winged, armless cats by the dick to float to a higher platform, all the while being videotaped by these ominous, blinking eyes. When that's over with, Ronald must get past these mouth-hungry Asian horror flick girls, all the while this little fucker is laughing his ass off. So we do a little switching, platforming, hopping, riding on this blue platform and feeding this ugly bitch some drugged jewels to put her to sleep. Now we can head on to the boss. A fucking coat rack. A coat rack with a bunch of heads. Kidding, he's in the dragon head. It's time to fight the final boss. So the first thing we see are lots of doors and 3 platformed rooms. In order to defeat him, you have to be in a room above him when he tries to steal your jewel. While he is chewing on your jewel, you have to go inside a door that matches a door in the room that he is in. Once in there, you can only blast him 1 time with your magic. This is the only boss that you can only hit 1 time while he's chewing. After you hit him, you have to immediately go back into the door you came out of because the rooms will start spinning again, and if you're trapped in the room that alien is in, more likely than not, you're going to be killed by him, especially if you're me and playing on expert like a dildo. There's also a slime that respawns every rotation in one of the rooms, so you can stock up on your jewels. After an ungodly amount of time, Ronald finally blasts the little bastard into submission. In exchange for his life, the alien relinquishes the treasure, but Ronald says he doesn't want the treasure anymore, and he just wants to go home. The alien then reveals that that's in fact what's in the box. No treasure at all, but a rainbow that leads them back to Earth. So Ronald and his friends slide down the rainbow of space, stare at the sky a while, and watch the end credits, letting us see everything that we've already seen. After the credits is the game over screen, which I must mention because of the music. It ends the game on such a sad note, like a really sad lullaby. I don't get it. Whatever. Is Ronald McDonald's Treasureland Adventure good or bad? McDonald's Treasureland Adventure is fucking awesome. It's filled with bright colors and strange enemies that you probably wouldn't see in some other games, especially in the last level, where you're being attacked by, well, like I said, a whole bunch of animals that do nothing but molest you. Or, in turn, you have to molest in order to progress. So, that was Ronald McDonald's Treasureland Adventure. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please like and subscribe, and all that other good shit people on YouTube like to do.